study can block finding the true life. See, there's a true life. Let's talk about that. What brings me to this is I was reading from this little book called The Spiritual Guide by Miguel de Molinos. He was a very nice man. He lived in the 1600s in Spain and then in Italy. And he wrote this little book called The Spiritual Guide. It's a very simple and beautiful little book. And at first it was well received, but then guess what? Somebody didn't like it. And before long, he was persecuted. He ended up in some kind of an inquisition, and he ended up in prison, and he died in prison. He spent years in prison. And what did he do? All he did was write this lovely little book about contemplation and about prayer. So it just goes to show you, see, that not all people who claim to be nice are really nice. Not all people who claim to be Christian are really Christian. See, Gandhi once said, you remember Mahatma Gandhi? He said a lot of interesting things he did. They asked him about Christianity, and he says, well, it sounds very nice, he said, but he said, I don't think I've ever met a true Christian. Telling words. See. Well, anyway, so I was reading this book here, and let me read, I'm reading near the end of it. Study can block you. See, these things have to be experienced. Repentance has to be experienced. It's like the sun. You can talk about the sun. You can study the sun. But it's nothing like experiencing the sun, the warmth and the light of the sun. You see what I mean? So, in the book, I talk a lot about what blocks eternal life, finding eternal life. And, so I want to read from this here, from this book, A Spiritual Guide. And it says, now I lost my place. Oh, here it is. It is an enduring maxim that divine wisdom begets humility, and that the wisdom which is acquired by the learned begets pride. Okay, and here's another one. It is a general rule and also a maxim in mystical theology that the practice ought to be gotten before the theory. This is the one actually I wanted to read. It is a general rule and also a maxim in mystical theology that the practice ought to be gotten before the theory. That there should be some experimental exercise of supernatural contemplation before the knowledge of it should be searched after and inquired into.